Hello. It's been a little over a week since I last stopped to record one of these. But it is the last day of the first decan of Taurus, so I feel like I should see what comes through. I've driven by this spot that I'm sitting at now over the last few days, and last night I had a dream that I would be choosing this place to speak with you now. I've stopped here before, and it always brings me a lot of sorrow and a lot of mixed feelings. This is an old spring house that was built in the late 1700s or early 1800s, right on land that is where the indigenous people of this area were living in harmonious relationship with the nature that's right out this way to my left, working this valley. And this is the land that these people were driven from in what is now traditionally known as the Trail of Tears, where they were driven out west, away from their place of origin. And this is, we know them as the Cherokee Nation, but that is not their self-designation. That's the designation that was given to them by others. But yeah, there's such complicated history. It's part of the reason why I wanted to move to this area as well, and to stay on the East Coast. I can access and feel deeply the struggle for emancipation of the people that came this way from Europe. But possibly stronger than that, I feel the sorrow and the terror of the people that were here before us. And this area is like this entire East Coast. Again, a name given to them, but a grouping, being the Hopewell people. They were the mound builders. They were they had sacred sites all along this coast. And we've come to understand them as a very vast network of both stationary and nomadic peoples that had an interlocking trade that went all the way from Florida to Michigan. And perhaps beyond that, we've found copper that was mined in Michigan, down in Florida, and it was this vast interconnected system. And the majority of those mounds were made into parking lots for Walmarts and things like that. There's one kind of famous one around here that is a restaurant, a seafood restaurant. And it's just like, yeah, it's really hard to sit with that and to feel it deeply, and to think of all that is willfully forgotten, but is, I believe, being remembered now as well, about what these people were all about, and how they operated, and particularly in ways that we could learn from the way that they lived, that are diametrically opposed to the systems that we've built here now. So anyway, preamble. It is related, though, to this decan. This is the first decan of Taurus, and this is Taurus Decan 1 is the 5 of Pentacles, or 5 of Discs in the tarot. And a few of these videos back, I talked about how we go from 4 interpenetrating layers of density in the Kabbalah tree of life. The way we're thinking about that is 4 interpenetrating layers of density that we move down through the numbers in the tree of life. The most rarefied being fire, the most dense being earth, going from ideation into the realm of manifestation of matter. So if we go through the numbered cards, we take away the aces and we go 2 through 10 of all the numbered cards, we go at least in the Golden Dawn, we go from fire to water to air to earth, like that. And every time we hit a 10, we go back to a 2 of the one that is below that layer. So if we are going around this Decan walk for a year, right, then we are taking a big dip in multiple ways. So we were just in cardinal fire, which is the starting place of the entire wheel. It is initiatory energy, and we talked about the doubling up of Mars and how this is initiatory energy, and it's rarefied and it's fast moving. Now, as we enter into Taurus season, we are taking a dip down 2 layers of density into fixed Earth. Cardinal Earth is Capricorn. That happens in the wintertime. This is fixed Earth, Taurus season. And then mutable Earth is Virgo, which happens in the fall. So we're in fixed Earth, which is knocking us down a number. Again, up and down are not super ideal, but we're talking about layers of density. We've moved into a much more dense and slow moving area of the wheel of our year. The first decan of Taurus is, so Taurus itself is ruled by Venus and exalted, the moon is exalted in Taurus. It might be reversed that, but I believe that's the way it is. And then when we look at this decan specifically, we have Mercury ruling the decan. This traditionally, especially when we layer in the, especially when we layer in the Kabbalah, the Tree of Life correspondences, which I'll get to in a second, makes this a particularly tricky energy to deal with. Fixed is, if we remember, cardinal, fixed, and mutable. Fixed is when the energies of the season, if we want to think of it that way, is at its most concentrated and straightaway form. This is spring. This is the season of spring and full straightaway spring, at least in the northern hemisphere, mind you. Okay, so when we go back, I realized also that in a lot of these videos I haven't even really touched on these cards. So I brought my Mel Maline's most recent deck, the Telos 777, that I thought I'd show. So if we look at the card that is associated to Taurus, we have one of my favorite cards, which is the Hierophant. Hierophant, we have a lot of repeating imagery here. We have keys, we have bowls. We can see that the 4 beings of the fixed signs, which are going to be the bull, the lion, the water bearer, and the eagle, are surrounding the Hierophant. What are those? Those are associated to fixed stars. Those are also associated to the cross. It's a cross of the fixed energies on the chart. Aldebaran is the one in Taurus. And Taurus is the one in Scorpio, which is the eagle. We have Aquarius is Fomalhaut, and then Leo is Regulus. Those are the 4 fixed stars. They're also associated to Watchers, and they're also associated to 4 archangels in various traditions. Love those fixed stars. I have a lot of alignments in my chart with many of those. So the Hierophant, that's also the sign of my moon. And then when we look at Mercury, Mercury is correspondent to the Magician, which here is the Magus in M.M. Maline's deck. We have a lot of really interesting associated imagery here. I won't go too far into it, but there are no other Magician cards that look like this one. I love this card. Okay. So we're combining those 2 energies into the Decan of the 5 of Discs, which I'm grabbing right now. 5 of Discs brings us to the theme that I have actually been feeling quite intensely. I don't know how much of it's personal, how much of it's collective. It's always going to be a blend of both. But we're looking at 5 of Discs, worry. Worry. Why worry? Let's unpack it a little bit. Worry. Okay. Mercury, Hermes, the Magician, that's fast-moving energy. That is they're both magical beings, but they're different types of magical beings. I really like in Susan Chang's and Mel Maline's podcast episode on this disc, they talk about the Hierophant and the Magician are related to the Pontifex and the Psychopomp. Pontifex is a intermediary, a bridge building type of being between the divine, the spirit, and the intercessor, the people. The throat is associated to Taurus, so we are hearing the divine inspired word. Later decks will make the Hierophant into the Pope, which is also interestingly related to our current times, as you might not have heard, but Pope Francis died the day after Easter. They say the day after Easter, perhaps even the night of Easter. So yeah, you have the Hierophant, the Pope, the voice, the intercessor between God and man, translator, okay? And then the other type of being, the Magician, now that's a Psychopomp. The Psychopomp is the one who takes you into the underworld. They are a transformative being. They don't translate, they bring you through the experience of the death and rebirth process. So they don't have to be particularly at odds, but they are different types of energies. Some people like to think of the Magician riding the bull and really doesn't like to be on there because the bull moves so slow. The Magician and Mercury is a fast-moving energy, and the bull is the slowest moving energy on the in the tarot, I think, as well. Okay, so that's interesting. Now let's add another layer to the Tree of Life, because we have talked about the names associated to the Tree of Life. We talked about the number 1 being the aces, all concentrated in the crown, which is Keter. And then we talked about Chesed, which is, Chokmah, which is 2, associated to 2, and that is bringing in the energies of the entire zodiac. That is wisdom, and then we move to 3 on the other pillar. So we're in the middle pillar when we're at Keter. We are in the right-hand path when we're in Chokmah, wisdom. We go to the left-hand path when we are looking at Bina, which is the energy of understanding, and that is associated to 3. And that triangle is called often the supernals. Now, when we were in Aries season, we also moved further down to Chesed. Chesed is the first station, Sephirah, that is outside of that supernal realm, outside of the realm of like pure imagination and divine source, idea, receiving of idea, and then this is the beginning of manifestation. Now, something we did not talk about yet is that each of these Sephirah are given a planet of association as well. So we're tracking a Decan planet associated, we're tracking a sign planet associated, we're tracking a Sephirah planet associated. So that's a lot of poetry to navigate. When we're doing that, I said that Chokmah is the entire zodiac, and then when we go to Bina, that is Saturn associated. And I love this placement on the Tree of Life because we see the more feminine expression of Saturn, which to me, Saturn has always been a psychopomp, if you want, or a shamanic manifester being. I had talked about in a few videos back about the realm of Neptune being the realm of the imaginal, and then it is actually Bina. It is actually the energy of Saturn that is able to organize this into form. All right, and then we move down to Chesed, which is the 4. The number 4 on the Tree of Life, and that is associated to Jupiter. Now, Jupiter in this scheme expands. So we're at 4, so we're foundational, and it is a sort of plateau in the, it can be thought of as a sort of plateau in the Tree of Life schema. So now we're moving into the Taurus world, and we get to 5, which is a disruptive force. Which is why we're getting, or part of the reason why we're getting the name Worry. This disruptive force is associated to the planet Mars. Now, when we move outside of the realm of the supernals, that top triangle, then we can start tracking, so that's 3. The remaining 7 can be mapped to the Torah, and can be mapped to the 7 days of creation as well. So the first day of creation is the 4, the Chesed. Expand, it's the great out-breath. In the beginning was the word, out-breath. And then Mars in, we didn't say what the name of this one is. It's Geburah. 5 is Geburah, associated to Mars. And what's the key word there? Severity is the key word. This is the middle Sephirah on the pillar of severity. Severity. So Mars is responsible for breaking up all that expansive space, dividing the days, dividing the, carving up the matter. It's disruptive energy. When we get to a Taurian image, we are moving from a grazing and following a season type of existence into one of tilling the land for your larger and larger scale agriculture project. So why would we be worried here in Taurus? Well, to continue with the gardening and the agricultural image, the idea here would be that we have experienced a Capricorn season where we didn't plan well. We didn't plan enough in advance. Maybe we played too much. Maybe we just miscalculated. Maybe there was some particularly terrible weather. We didn't plan enough and we went hungry. This is the time when our plans need to be fully laid out and articulated and worked in order to experience the safety of the foresight of moving through another winter. So that's one of the easiest ways of looking at worry associated to this card. Okay. That's good. I will like to end this by bringing this into the now. Why this time period right now has been very resonant for me with Taurus, first decan of Taurus, and worry in general. So there's been some I mentioned a few videos back that I was experiencing a Pluto square and a Neptune square at the same time, which are both considered often to be midlife type of crises moments. And these, to be clear, are shared by, these are very slow moving planets. So there will be people that are 1984, end of 1984 through a few years that are going to be experiencing these similar squaring energies right now. This is my generation experiencing these squaring energies. These last few days brought a lot more to that. So we just got through a Mars and Pluto opposition. Pluto moved into Aquarius for the first time in 248 years. Is that right? I think that's the right number there. Last November, I believe it was. And we've been ticking in slowly through Aquarius. Pluto. This is a transformative energy. It is a collective energy. It is a death and rebirth type of energy. Also a psychopomp type of energy. And it is in many circles considered to be a higher octave of Mars. So Mars has been in Leo and Cancer, and Mars has gone through a very rare, very long retrograde, which drew these three oppositions out over the course of like 6 months. We just went through the final one in Leo. So this was at 3 degrees of Leo, and my Pluto was forming a T-square to this square. Now, what do we know about Aquarius and Leo that we also just talked about with Taurus and Scorpio? Fixed energy. This is a clash in fixed energy. When Leo was opposing Pluto in Cancer, and Cancer and Capricorn, this might have been a different type of energy. Not easy, particularly. I don't think that Mars enjoys being in Cancer. It's emotional, it's protective. But this, in some ways, can be even more difficult to deal with because we've just gone through that whole process in Cancer, came out the other end in Leo, we're drying off, and we feel the sun shining, and we are ready to go, Mars. We are ready to go. We have it. We've figured out. We've made some huge growths, and then we just get checked again by another fixed energy, which is, frankly, far more powerful than us, showing us the ways in which our will maybe needs to be checked because it is our will alone and not good for all people. We want what we want, but we got to go back to the drawing board at least one more time. Okay, so that just happened. And at the exact same time, we formed a grand square. So right sitting on top of my natal Pluto at 3 degrees of Scorpio, we had Black Moon Lilith, which I'll talk about in a second, and then directly across from it at 3 degrees of Taurus, in this first decan, we had the sun. So the sun was shining a light across the way at Black Moon Lilith, which Black Moon Lilith is it's not a planet or even a being unto itself. It is a point which is calculated, which is meant to be the point of the blackest point of the moon, dark side of the moon, if you want. There's also, to be super confusing about it, there's also an asteroid Lilith. There are 2 ways to calculate Dark Moon Lilith, and then there is a third one, which is a hypothetical Waldemath, I think maybe it's called, but that's a hypothetical hiding dark moon behind our other moon. That was theorized. So those are 4 different calculations on Lilith. However, they're all named Lilith, and it's really interesting to explore their relationship to the archetypal themes of Lilith. Lilith is an energy that goes back earlier than the Christian, but most people know the Christian and Jewish story of Lilith as the first wife of Adam, who liked to be on top. She liked to be on top. She liked things her ways, and she was ostracized and kicked out for demanding her way. And she had a lot of rage for that. And in the Judaism tradition, Lilith is the mother of the whole, I can't remember the name of it right now, but the whole demon class, essentially. She's a very demonized figure. However, she's a very powerful feminine, dark feminine figure. We've talked a fair amount about dark feminine. So she's sitting on my Pluto, my natal Pluto, which is squaring the Pluto and Mars opposition, and the sun is shining a light right on all that energy. And I will tell you, I didn't enjoy it. I feel grateful for the experience, and I always want to be able to, and feel incredibly fortunate to be able to consciously go through and experience these energies. I was aware that they were going to happen, and they still smacked me on the butt. It's true. I experienced a lot of rage, and I experienced a lot of, I think, Taurus Decan 1 energies. A lot of things that I realized were that I had buried the most deeply. Could have been from many lifetimes of experience. I don't know how much it's necessary or worth it to go into. I just want to acknowledge that. I mean, a lot of the rage was a collective rage that I felt. I have been for many years. I am furious at what those in power have done to the land. And that's global, but it's particularly bad in this country. It goes really far back, but I can take it back. At least I just recently rewatched There Will Be Blood. Take it back to the Rockefellers, take it back to the early oil barons. Those early oil barons, they took black gold from the land and they turned it for profit. They schemed to get people's land, to get the money from people, entire communities, crippling entire communities. And then those people became responsible for what we now are completely burdened with, and very well can be the extinction of our entire species, which is the global now pharmaceutical industry. Pharmaceutical industry was early funded by those oil barons. And quickly after that, the Bayer, the inventor of aspirin, when we found out that we could, in a lab, take a property of nature, alter it slightly enough to where it was still stable, we found that we could patent that thing and then sell that thing. So we have been robbing nature of her precious goods by altering nature. And this led all the way to Monsanto and genetically modified organisms, which were made as a response to not only owning the entire seed bank of the world, but also because we were dumping gallons upon gallons of toxins, poisons that we made. I didn't make this. These people made, knowing that they were poisons, dumping it into the land. Glyphosate, weed killer, antibiotic. What's an antibiotic? Antibiotic? And I think that everyone is complicit to some degree, but I don't think that everyone in the pharmaceutical industry, everyone in oil or whatever, are knowingly complicit in these crimes. However, the ones that are the most insidious absolutely know what they're doing to our bodies. They absolutely know how they are killing us. They've been doing it for 100 years now, knowingly, and they keep going. I'm furious. I've been furious. I've spent some time in these last recent years trying to swallow that. Not ignore it, but swallow that anger. Trying to fit my way into any number of industries. Can't do it. I can't support it. I can't support it. It has actually directly led me into an oppositional relationship with others, with my own body. My own body was formed out of this trauma. I don't blame my parents for not knowing what was happening during their generation's time. I don't blame them. But now that I know the grief and the absolute rage over this, I've been gluten-free for 20 years now almost. I have made deliberate choices to remove these things from my system, and yet it is a part of me from before I even came out of the womb. My body is absolutely between two worlds. I love who I am. I love who I am. But it has not always been easy to navigate. It's not always been easy to navigate, especially in a time that's as heightened as now, with the all eyes on the trans community and all of the identity politics and programming that's happening, all the terror that's being spewed everywhere. It's really hard to walk around a place like North Georgia and Tennessee sometimes and just like, I'm just going about my day and I actively just like can feel the disruptive energy that I give to people. It's not easy. So yeah, this kicked up a lot. It kicked up a lot. I'm working through it, and I'm working through what is my responsibility. Where am I pivoting? Ashley and I have made many decisions in our lives, and it's taken us so long, but we are aiming toward an ultimate goal and purpose of reclaiming every bit of these for ourselves, because we know that we can't help a single other person until we can have complete control over this for ourselves. I want to grow everything. I want to give back to the planet. I want to give back to the soil. I want to give back to the animals that have suffered under our careless jurisdiction. I want to become what I think that humans always were capable of being and have been at many times in the past. A steward of the land. I don't want to worry. I don't want to worry about something like money. All right. I don't want to be negative, but I just want you to know that you might be feeling some of these things too, because these are universal energies. It's called a grand square, and it is a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot we have to work through. It's a lot we have to work through, and it's easy to feel helpless. We're not helpless. We are not helpless. You can grow a single plant. I just got the ingredients to start sauerkraut again. We can make sauerkraut. You know, you've got a whole society in your belly. They're the ones who give you emotions to tell you that they're hungry. You've got to take care of those guys. That's your second brain. Eat some fermented food. Making sauerkraut's the easiest one you can do. I'm gonna start sourdough soon again. There's always something that we can do. Always. We are not helpless. And this world is not, the way it's gone, it's not sustainable. And I do believe that the cosmic energies are breaking it up right now. And we just have to be ready. We have to be resilient as it comes. Do not collapse into fear. Do not collapse. No worry. Not no worries as in like I don't know what's going on, because I absolutely know what's going on, and it is awful. But I'm ready to make a better world. And I hope you want to do it with me. All right, I'm gonna go now. I still have some work to do. Peace.